Hello, hi, Facebook trooper. What's happening? What's going on? Welcome. Happy Thursday. In hopes that you squeezed more out of your day than the day squeezed out of you. Welcome. Today is National Dog Day, and boy, it was a tough day for me. I'm wearing my little guy's shirt. Oh man, real tough day because I see all the dog pictures like everywhere. Instagram, Facebook. I see all these dog pictures. Right, tough day for me. So, but I had to wear my little guy's shirts. So, in memory of him, happy National Dog Day. Anyway, let's get started with today. Today's live. As you're joining me live, let me know you're here. I see the eyeballs joining in, but I don't always know who's here, who's not here. Would kind of like to know who's here. Anyway, let's talk about kindness. I personally believe that kindness has boomerang powers. Boomerang powers, what does that mean? Well, I feel like kindness is got a way to come back. Alan, how are you? Welcome, man. Good to see you here, brother. Yeah, man. It's been. He was my best friend. So, yeah. I love your dog though. So cute, so adorable. Thanks for posting it and sharing it. I appreciate it. This was my guy. His name was actually Little Guy. So, anyway, let's talk about kindness. He was kind, right? Let's talk about kindness. I personally believe kindness has boomerang powers. Like, what does that mean? I believe that if you're kind to people, it has a way of coming back to you. Now, it may not be directly to you, it may be indirect, but it's somehow the universe, if you believe, God, if you believe, the creator, whatever you believe in, I personally believe that we'll get you for that. We'll pay you back for that. We'll pay you back with kindness. So if you're kind to people, if you throw it to people, it has boomerang powers. It'll come back to you. That's what I mean. Let me share a story with you. The story goes as such. A lady is driving her car in a cold winter day, and all of a sudden the car breaks down. It's got a flat tire. She's got this dress on, this cream jacket on, this dress on. She has no idea how to change a tire. It's freezing cold. It's snowing. It's windy, and she's stranded at the side of the road and doesn't really know the area. And she gets out of her car and, she tucks her jacket into herself and she's kind of looking around, trying to see if she can get some help. And everybody's just driving by, right? Getting kind of colder, and she looks at her car, and the car it's got snow on top of it, and it's and she looks at the tire, and sure enough, it's flat. So after a few, some guy pulls up next to her, and some young guy pulls up right next to her and says, "Hey, what seems to be the problem?" She says, "Listen, it looks like I got a flat tire. Don't know how to change," and all this stuff. She goes, and he says, "What are you doing outside the car? It's freezing. You should get inside the car. Get inside the car. I'll fix the car." So he has her get back in the car, and he pops the hood, and not the hood, the trunk, and gets the spare tire and changes the tire, and taps on the window, lets the lady know, "Hey, the tire is good to go. You're good to go." Well, she pulls out this amount of cash, and like more than enough to fix a flat tire, and she offers to give it to him, and he kind of pulls back and says, lady, I didn't do that for any money. I just did to help you out, right? I appreciate it, but don't let me be the last person to be kind. Pass it on. Day goes on, and the lady, pulls over to a place to grab a bite to eat. She pulls into the cafe, to the cafe, sits down and feels like having a really good meal. So she gets a really decent meal for herself and gets a glass of wine. Spends about $80 for lunch, right? Well, the waitress comes up and sets the bill down right next to her. The lady puts $100 in the thing, and leaves a note, and leaves. Okay. The waitress comes back, opens the thing, sees it's $100, and says, "Okay." There's a $20 tip. There's a napkin note on top of it that says the $100 should cover the bill, and the rest of it is your tip, along with what's underneath the napkins. She lifts up the napkins, and there is another $400 underneath the napkins. And underneath that, she writes down, "Don't be the last person to be kind." Pass it on. Right? Well, she's just amazed. She's just so excited because she's pregnant. They're not doing well financially. That's why she's waitressing at a cafe, and she's just so thankful for this $420 tip, right? So she gets home. She gets home, and her husband gets home tired, exhausted, and he asks, "How's the baby? How are you doing? How are we gonna pay for this? How are we gonna pay for that? It's just been so hard," right? And he looks exhausted, right? And she turns around and says, "Hey, something funny happened today." And he says, "Yeah, I could use a good story." And she says, somebody came in and had lunch and left me a $420 tip. And she describes her, goes, she was wearing a dress with a cream jacket. And the guy says, "A dress with the cream jacket." And then he tells the story about earlier that day, how he helped her with her flat tire and how she wanted to pay him. And he said, "Listen, I didn't do this for the cash. Just don't let me be the last person to be kind. Pass it on." Now, what a cool little story to prove that kindness has boomerang effects and powers. What do I mean by that? You throw kindness to somebody, it'll come back to you. It will come back to you. Somehow, sometime, it will come back to you. If you are a firm believer in that, then you definitely will get your kindness back. But if you struggle with that, idea, that kindness has boomerang powers, if you struggle with that idea, then you struggle. This is going to be, all right, you ready? It's going to hit you. It's going to hit you. If you struggle with kindness, with the idea of kindness having boomerang powers, then most likely you also struggle with being kind in the first place. Have you thought about that? If you struggle with the idea that you can be kind to somebody and it'll come back to you, right? If you struggle with that, then how can you be kind? You know what I mean? So you probably struggle with that too. I'm here to ask you to stop that, change that. Start being kind to people and see what happens. You know, hey, listen, I'm not saying you're gonna get that kindness back from that same person. I'm not saying you're gonna get that kindness back that same day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's gonna come back to you somewhere, somehow. And you gotta believe that. And if you believe that, and if you start to believe that and inject more energy and more belief into it, then guess what? It's going to be so much simpler for you to be kind in the beginning, from the start, from the get-go, right? Does that make sense? You feeling me? Hopefully you're feeling me. Hopefully you're getting some love, right? So, at the end of the day, happy National Dog Day. And my thought of the day is this. Listen. Start believing that kindness has boomerang powers. And if you buy into that belief, then it's so much easier and simpler for you to be kind all the time and become a kind person. Hopefully you got some love out of this live. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you got some value, some inspiration. If you feel like you got some of that, then you want to share it, tag a couple people to this, share it on your wall, do what you got to do, spread the love. I appreciate you guys. I want to know what you think about what I shared with you tonight. Does kindness have boomerang powers? Do you believe that? And has it happened to you? Has that boomerang hit you with kindness? Drop your comments below. I appreciate you. And until tomorrow, where we do it all over again. Much love.